Of course I know her. She is your second senior sister. That little girl Xianxia can be considered the disciple of your eldest senior brother and his wife. Huang Jintian said. What happened? Didn't you say you only have 2 disciples, me and Big Senior? Why did a second senior sister appear? Chun Xiang expressed his confusion. She concocts pills. Have you ever taught her how to refine pills? Huang Jintian laughed. I didn't teach you how to refine pills, but you are also very powerful. I only accepted her as my disciple when I came to the heaven realm, because she has strength and the relationship between her and your big brother. Furthermore, she is older than you, so I made an exception and made her my second disciple. Chun Xiang was not satisfied. No, we can't break this rule. We have to follow the order of first come first served. She is my junior sister. Do as you please. When the time comes, go and argue with her. She's a girl who has a strong battle of words. If you can argue with her, the number 2 position will belong to you. Huang Jintian said casually. But she respects me a lot. I was so poor when I first came to Heaven Realm. She gave me a lot of spiritual crystal and even gave me a pellet she refined. But you, if I let you bargain for a broken bird leg, then this girl will be more generous than you, humph. Master, you can't say it like that. When you were sleeping on the street, I gave you more than half of my spiritual crystal, and now you're pretty rich too. You're obviously trying to cheat me out of my bird leg, so I can't give it to you for nothing. Chun Xiang wiped his nose, unconvinced. Master, why are you following me? Originally it was Huang Jintian who pulled Chun Xiang, but now it was Huang Jintian who followed Chun Xiang. I don't have a place to stay for the time being. You brat, last time you won against tens of millions of spiritual crystal, you still have a lot of them, right? Huang Jintian said, I will only leave after watching your competition. After that, Chun Xiang brought Huang Jintian to a very rundown place. He rented a rundown house here, and this made Huang Jintian scold him for being stingy. Master, I just bought a pill furnace. I'm so poor. Don't despise me. Why don't you go look for eldest senior brother and junior sister? They will definitely be eating and drinking high-quality food. Master, I just bought a pill furnace. I'm so poor. Don't you hate them? Why don't you hate them? Chun Xiang said. Little brat, do you really not know that I am like you, unable to reveal my identity? Huang Jintian drank the meat broth Chun Xiang passed to him, then laughed. You brat, not bad. The golden rock bone soup is not something that anyone can drink. You don't have any green dragon demon-slain broadsword on you, and you don't cause any trouble. Isn't it just the Taiji dragon-suppressed kung fu? Eldest brother also dares to run around the streets. What are you afraid of? Chun Xiang sat down to drink the soup. He indeed did not know why Huang Jintian was like him, afraid of being harassed by others. Huang Jintian finished the bowl of soup in one breath, and got Chun Xiang to help him fill the bowl. With a serious expression, he said, After you promised to not think about me. Chun Xiang glanced at Huang Jintian and asked, Master, do you really have some kind of extraordinary treasure on you? Humph, of course. Huang Jintian said proudly. Chun Xiang gave the soup to him and asked curiously, I promise I won't get any ideas from you. What precious things do you have on you? Huang Jintian chuckled. I don't have anything precious. It's just that my flesh and blood is more precious. Eating it will help me live forever, and it's many times better than any pills that can increase my lifespan. This is already enough, right? Chun Xiang took a deep breath. This was indeed enough to be able to make many powerful experts with close to longevity do things that would break the rules. Some of the super experts were even able to use some high-leveled pills, but they were unable to increase their lifespan. Looks like the legend is true. Eating the undead race's flesh and blood will truly help one live forever. Su Meiyao exclaimed. Bai Yuyu and Long Shui were the same. Huang Jintian saw that Chun Xiang was looking at him strangely, and immediately shrank his body and said, You brat, don't think about me. My blood is not good. My meat is very bad. Master, if you're really poor, you could earn a lot even if you sold your blood and meat. Chun Xiang said. That would be tantamount to violating clan rules, and would be struck by lightning by the heavens. I would not do that. Huang Jintian shook his head. Xianxia took out a few small pieces of golden rock meat and started a fire to let Huang Jintian roast the meat. Huang Jintian could not wait any longer. He was even treating Xianxia to food. Of course he would be very happy to do so. Master, what kind of people are the parents of elder sister Menger? They seem to be very strong. Xianxia asked. Huang Jintian had flown up here for a period of time, so he should know something. Her father's name is Lu Zhongyu and my mother's name is Song Ying. Their Lu family and Song family both have relatively prosperous immortal palaces in the Human King Immortal country. And originally, these two families only had about 10 or so immortal palaces under their control. However, even though they were not kings, their status was still very high in the Human King Immortal country. While Huang Jintian was flipping through the golden rock meat, he said, "The most amazing thing is not this, but the master of this couple. It is said that they are the descendants of a divine craftsman and have great influence. So it's like that." Xianxia never thought that Lu Menger's father and mother's background would be so profound and abundant. However, it also made him feel a lot more at ease. Huang Jintian chuckled. "If little girl Lu's parents knew that you had that kind of relationship with her, then you would be in trouble. But don't be afraid, her parents are still very reasonable. You're the one who is despicable. Even if I'm despicable, I'm still learning from you." Xianxia fiercely bit off a piece of meat. "Are you confident you can get first place? Many Dan Immortal have come." Huang Jintian asked. "I don't know yet, but Li Tianjun will also be participating. But I'm definitely confident that I can get one of the top rankings in the first round." Xianxia was very confident. "I am just worried that I might be forced to reveal my identity in the end. That will depend on whether the prizes are powerful enough or not. Give me some benefits. If anything happens, I will bring you away. Even if Dragon Emperor is here, I will not be caught by him." Huang Jintian said with a smile. "Master, we are master and disciple. You saving me is a matter of course. What benefits do you want?" Xianxia laughed. "Bro, you know how to settle debts." Huang Jintian laughed. "I'll give you a bird's claw. Okay?" Xianxia said. If an accident were to happen, Huang Jintian would be able to bring him away and not drag anyone into it. That would be for the best. Although Huang Jintian's strength was unknown, but Xianxia was very confident in this mysterious madman's master. "A bird's claw is a bird's claw. Isn't it better?" Huang Jintian laughed. If not for the fact that he was afraid of the broken house falling to pieces, he would have laughed crazily. Xianxia did not sleep at all and had roasted meat with Huang Jintian for an entire night. There was also the meat of dragon and golden rock, as well as some precious immortal beastess that Huang Jintian had collected. After eating precious beast meat for an entire night, Xianxia was brimming with energy. As soon as the sky brightened, he and Huang Jintian walked towards the Myriad Dan Immortal Palace. Huang Jintian had already bought a sign to watch the competition from, and it was even the one at the front. No one knew how he obtained it, but for the alchemist that was participating, Xianxia did not need to buy them. "Do you really not intend to meet with your juniors in secret?" Xianxia sent a sound transmission to Huang Jintian. He had already treated Xiao Profoundyun as his own junior sister, and he had already decided that he would not acknowledge the person who had taken him as his master even if it were beaten to death. "No need. Your senior brother and sister must not have a better reputation than ours. For the time being, don't disturb them. Although they also want to see me, we must have some awareness if we are to walk on this path," Huang Jintian said. After entering the 10,000 Dan Immortal Palace, Huang Jintian pulled Xianxia along, looked in a direction and said, "That guy is called Wu Songhong. He's the little Baldy's ancestor and the king of the current Human King Immortal country." Xianxia had already seen Wu Songhong before, and he knew that Wu Songhong was a cultivator, just that his conditions were not as good as his. Now that he had personally seen Wu Songhong, Xianxia actually wanted to go and thank him. "The Alad and the little Baldy didn't come?" Xianxia asked. "With that lousy strength of theirs, how could they dare to come? They've all gone into seclusion to cultivate. Right now, your senior apprentice brother is keeping them in check. Only the little girl, Xianxia, has a bit of ease," Huang Jintian said. Gu Dongqin and Wu Keiming were both disciples of his big senior brother Wang Weiquan. After flying to Heaven Realm, they met once again as master and disciple. Alchemist entered the huge competition grounds in the middle one by one. It was not a problem for them to store tens of thousands of Alchemist's pills. Xianxia greeted Huang Jintian and then queued up to enter the venue. When entering, he needed to take out the pill furnace for the people at the entrance to inspect it. Although there were a lot of alchemists participating, but there were also quite a lot of immortal kings spectating, and some were strong, it would not be easy for them to do anything in front of these experts. If anyone did that, the consequences would be dire. After Xianxia entered the arena, he surveyed his surroundings. He was shocked by the amount of people who came to spectate the competition. There were a lot of them, and they formed a large circle with many levels that covered the surroundings. Xianxia did not see Lu Menger and the others, but rather, they were probably sitting in some VIP booths. Many people looked at Xianxia because his water vat-like pill furnace was too eye-catching, attracting a few people's laughter. But Xianxia did not agree. He used several million spiritual crystal S to buy it. If it was new and not from the devil-suppressing kung fu, then it could at least be sold for tens of millions of spiritual crystal, which was not something that anyone could afford. This brat is such a bastard. He even said that he would be poor after buying a pill furnace, and that he would buy this shitty thing. Huang Jintian did not know how powerful that pill furnace was either. After many alchemists entered the stage, they placed the pill furnace in front of them and then stood there, waiting for the competition to start. Xianxia glanced at the pill furnaces of the other alchemist. Li Tianjun is here. Xianxia heard someone shout and looked towards the entrance. He saw a handsome man standing there, waiting for someone to inspect his pill furnace. So this fellow actually has a very young pill refiner. Before this, he always pretended to be an old man. Xianxia thought, Sister Meiyao, is his pill furnace powerful? Exquisite grade immortal furnace. What do you think? Su Meiyao said. That's so much worse than mine. My Yanlong furnace is a holy level dragon tool. Xianxia said. It's a pity that it's too dazzling, and cannot be used carelessly. If the prize is very precious, then so be it. Su Meiyao said. That crazy master of yours is not simple. He said that he had the ability to bring you away. You should really be able to do it. Not long after Li Tianjun walked in, a burst of cheers came from the crowd. At this time, the Bai Xia Dan Immortal came in, wearing a unique fiery red robe. It was a middle-aged lady. She was not the old granny from the rumors. This pill furnace is also a top-grade immortal furnace, but it's much more valuable than her previous Jade Cloud treasure furnace. Su Meiyao said. The following people who entered the stage were all famous Dan Immortal S. But Xianxia had never heard of them, so he did not really understand much about them. His junior sister had finally arrived, dressed in light attire and a simple ponytail. Her face was free of any veil, revealing a beautiful face. There was a smile on her face, and she was holding a dark green pill furnace. Xianxia didn't think that Xiao Profoundyun was also very famous. He was not one bit inferior to Li Tianjun. By Xia Dan Immortal and other great powers top Dan Immortal S, such as Devil-Suppressing Divine Palace, Divine Wind Immortal Country, White Sea Immortal Country, and those like Divine Saber Immortal Palace. Only Nu Du Hai, his pill refining skills were not bad, and he was very famous in the Sacred Dan realm. On the other hand, the alchemist of the Long family was an old granny. Although many people had never heard of it, when Xianxia saw this old granny, they all respected her as well. This grandma is so amazing. It seems like there is the profound being sacred flame, which should be the true sacred flame. I never thought that the Long family would have such a powerful person. Long Shui said in shock. No wonder Li Tianjun said that this was the stage of the Dan Immortal. We little fellows only came to join in on the fun. I didn't expect that I would compete with so many powerful alchemists so early. Xianxia thought he did not feel that it was difficult at all. He had the confidence to get first place. It's not the highest level of competition yet. The highest is probably just a 5th stage Dan Immortal. Those 7th or 8th stage Dan Immortal are the strongest, but they should all be watching from the side. If they were to participate in this competition, the other Dan Immortal would immediately withdraw, and those old monsters are the real powerful ones. Su Meiyao said. All the alchemists were present, but Xianxia did not find anyone else he was familiar with. As expected, Hua Xiangyue and Wu Qianqian did not come, but Xianxia guessed that they were watching from the side. Next, the new king He Peiqing came up to read out the competition rules. He was the previous sixth prince. Xianxia had seen him last time at the palace. What Xianxia cared about was the reward. Other people might have come to compete with him or to join in on the fun, but Xianxia was doing it for the reward. Previously, there were rumors saying that the final reward would be announced at this time. Xianxia was secretly looking forward to it. Many people guessed that the reward would be holy level herbs, but Xianxia did not think so, because He Peiqing's Tianshan holy fruit was tricked away by him, so even if He Peiqing still had the holy level herbs, he would definitely not be willing to take them out right now. As for the top-grade immortal medicines, they were definitely not, because in many people's eyes they were too cheap. He Peiqing stood on stage and took out a square black chest. It was the final reward of this competition, causing everyone to start discussing and guessing what kind of thing was inside. The square black box was not big and could be held up with one hand. It could not be a large object. Rather, it seemed to be filled with medicinal herbs. However, it was usually held in a jade box. At that moment, only Xianxia was shocked by the sight of the box, because there was a very small pattern on top of the box. He had previously obtained a map, and there was this pattern on the back of the map, and that pattern represented the Dan Emperor. Only the Dan Emperor could draw that pattern. The things inside are related to the Dan Emperor. Xianxia frowned as he looked at the box in the distance. He wanted to use the Chaos Divine Eye to see through it, but he was blocked by something. When Xianxia looked at the faces of the powerful Dan Immortals, he unexpectedly realized that they had the same shocked expression as him, as if they knew the origin of the pattern. Is it something related to the Dan Emperor? The old lady had been squinting her eyes the entire time. When the box appeared, she immediately opened her eyes wide, but from her pair of bright eyes, she was not at the end of her life, but was filled with vitality, which did not match with her aged appearance. It really is the heaven realm. There are a few people who know about the Dan Emperor. Xianxia thought. Hearing Dan Emperor, many people were at a loss, but they knew that he was strong, and only a few Dan Immortals had faces full of shock, at the same time looking at the box with fiery eyes. Since it is the reward of the alchemy competition, it will definitely be related to alchemy. Now, I can tell everyone there is a cauldron inside the box. This cauldron is very extraordinary. Dan Emperor used to refine pills. This cauldron was once created by a divine craftsman, and was used by divine craftsmen for a period of time. Speaking till here, the entire competition grounds erupted in exclamations. Even He Peiqing could not continue. Some were surprised, but others did not believe it. Why don't you keep the things that the blacksmith used? That's right, it had been used by two famous people before. No matter what, it should be a sacred weapon, and this thing is many times more precious than holy-level herbs. Xianxia also expressed his doubts. He had used divine craftsmen to create and use it, and even Dan Emperor had used it later on. If it was true, even if he brought it back to give face, the meaning behind it would be worth a lot. Everyone, please be quiet. He Peiqing shouted out loud, his voice shaking the ears of everyone present. There were more than 100,000 people on the scene, and the ruckus was extremely annoying. Now that it had suddenly quieted down, it seemed a little strange. He Peiqing took out that cauldron. It was very small, like an incense burner, a three-legged black cauldron. The cauldron was circular, and was extremely bright. The little cauldron was spinning in He Peiqing's hand, and everyone could see a very small pattern at the bottom of the cauldron. It was unique to the Dan Emperor, and at the same time it was a small black hammer sculpture by his side. This black hammer had many very small spirit grains on it. If they looked carefully, they would realize that the small hammer was carved from many spirit grain that had interweaved together. It was the mark of a divine craftsman, and what He Peiqing said was true. These two marks were enough to prove that the little cauldron had once been used by the Dan Emperor and divine craftsman. Everyone also discovered that there was a problem. The small cauldron did not have a lid. After this cauldron has been recognized, we can control its size with our will. Everyone should have discovered that this cauldron has no lid, so its value will be greatly reduced. However, it is still very precious. He Peiqing said with regret. I made a very big decision before I took it out as a reward. Without the cover, it can only be used for viewing. To forge a lid suitable for this cauldron, it would be extremely difficult. Even if we were able to create one, we cannot display the full power of this cauldron. A Dan Immortal said, however, the significance of this cauldron is great. As the final reward for this competition, it is still too valuable. Actually, not only can this cauldron be used for refining pills, it can also be used for combat. The largest part of this cauldron can become the size of a house, and it's also very heavy, and it's most suitable for defense. At the same time, it can also be used as a storage magic treasure. He Peiqing's words caused Xianxia and Huang Jintian's eyes to light up, because if there was such a thing, then in the future, they would have to kill dragons and emperor birds. If you want to recreate the Suzaku divine weapon in the future, you can only rely on this cauldron. Although you lack a lid, but don't you have a map that the Dan Emperor left behind? Su Meiyao said. To Chunxiang, his divine power was enough to form a lid, so the flaw of having no lid on this cauldron was not a problem. It's not easy to get them. Look at the looks in the eyes of those old fellows, as if they want to eat this cauldron alive. I'm under a lot of pressure. Xianxia said. He was currently sparring with a large group of Dan Immortals after all. If he wanted to get first place, it was truly a mystery. Next, everyone, I will give you another hour to adjust your condition. The first round of the competition will begin in an hour. After He Peiqing finished speaking, he immediately placed the small cauldron into the box and kept it. He could not bear the gazes of the old Dan Immortal either. Chunxiang closed his eyes and concentrated on meditating. He was now very serious because he really wanted that cauldron. In a private room, Lu Zhongyu saw He Peiqing keep the cauldron and sighed helplessly. As expected, the divine furnace is in He clan's hands. Lu Menger's parents were the disciples of the divine craftsman, so they had a certain understanding of the cauldron. Song Ying smiled lightly. Didn't Master already say that you don't need to care about this divine furnace? That is the work of the ancestor, and we need to create our own divine cauldron in the future. That is the thing that we should care about. Mother, the Suzaku silk I have right now belongs to Grand Master? Lu Menger asked. Even though she was in charge of the divine weapon sect in the past, she was now an obedient daughter by her parents' side. Your senior thought that the Suzaku silk could only protect you at most, but who would have thought that after so long, you actually obtained the approval of the Suzaku silk and could use this divine tool. You must take good care of him in the future. Song Ying kindly caressed Lu Menger's hair. Lu Menger nodded his head slightly. The Suzaku silk was something that Chunxiang had helped her obtain, but she did not say it out loud. She also did not mention anything about Chunxiang possessing a profound wood diamond armor. Not only that, she knew that Chunxiang had the thought of refining a new Suzaku divine weapon, that the Suzaku divine weapons plan for number 2 was in that divine book, that she and Dongfang Xinyue had cracked it, that it was a bow that needed the vermilion bird skeleton to refine, and Chunxiang had it too. These things were definitely earth-shattering. So she and Dongfang Xinyue kept it a secret and never revealed it to anyone else. I never thought that the Suzaku silk would be with Menger. This is the Suzaku divine weapon in the 4 symbols divine weapons. Wang Weiquan was also here. He was Huang Jintian's eldest disciple, and had a very good relationship with Lu Menger's parents when he was at Mortal Realm. Even more so now, he wasn't afraid of him finding out about the matters regarding Suzaku divine weapon. My junior brother has a green dragon demon-slain broadsword. That's the Azure Dragon divine weapon. Because of this, many people have set their sights on him, causing him to ascend in power. He doesn't even dare show his face. Wang Weiquan laughed. I really want to meet this troublemaker, to be able to stir up so many problems. Lu Menger looked at the quiet arena and said, maybe he's already here. Lu Zhongyu said, Xianxia told me before he is always sneaky, but if he wants to sneak in right now, I'm afraid it won't be that easy. Many guest rooms have enemies on them. At this time, Wu Songhong walked in and laughed. Just now, I passed by a VIP room. I heard that He Peiqing's Tianshan holy fruit was taken off by someone. That's why I summoned the divine tripod right now. I think the Dan Immortal that he sent out is under a lot of pressure. He sent 10 powerful Dan Immortals. Who knows? This divine cauldron might really fall into his hands. What you mean is, the Tianshan holy fruit were stolen? Who has that kind of ability? Lu Zhongyu asked in shock. It's not that they were robbed, or else they would have definitely started a fight. I heard that they were somehow taken away by someone else. I'm not too sure about the specifics. Wu Songhong laughed. I would also like to know which expert did this, to be able to make He Peiqing suffer such a loss. Song Ying frowned. Looks like this 10,000 pills main palace is hiding some kind of extraordinary guy. Someone who can use 2 kinds of super old poison, and also someone who can steal the Tianshan holy fruit. We have to be a little careful. Maybe the same person did it. Wang Weiquan said. Just as they were chatting, they suddenly realized that 3 immortal kings from the myriad Dan immortal country had entered the competition and arrived next to Xianxia. Xianxia, who was still meditating, immediately opened his eyes when he felt the dangerous aura approaching him. At this moment, everyone's attention was focused on him. Surrounded by the 3 immortal kings, the person who was able to enjoy such treatment should be a very strong person. This is Devil-Killing Summit's pill furnace. You are Devil-Killing Summit's man. He Peiqing, who was standing on the stage, flew over and asked with furrowed brows. Back when Chen Xiang and Huang Jintian snuck into the palace, they had already claimed that they were from Devil-Killing Summit. But when Chen Xiang slipped away from the palace, Huang Jintian went missing, so He Peiqing and the rest suspected that it was someone from Devil-Killing Summit. No. Chen Xiang immediately responded, I bought this pill furnace from Divine Saber Immortal Palace. Here is their proof of it. Chen Xiang took out the proof. When he bought it back then, he had also predicted that something like this would happen. At this time, another 3 immortal kings came and surrounded him. This kind of battle array caused many people to be shocked, but hearing that it had to do with the Devil-Killing Summit, everyone felt that it was normal, as the Devil-Killing Summit's reputation and infamy were known by everyone. That pill furnace was indeed sold by our Divine Saber Immortal Palace. Don't make it difficult for him. A thunderous shout came from a VIP room. The water vat-like pill furnace had previously become the laughingstock of others, but now that they found out that it belonged to the Devil-Killing Summit, no one dared to look down on it. Of course, they admired this person who dared to use the things of the Devil-Killing Summit even more, so were they not afraid of being accidentally killed? Some of the big shots of the big powers had already found out about He Peiqing's loss of a Tianshan holy fruit. Seeing how concerned they were for a Devil-Killing Summit, they knew that it was very possible that the Tianshan holy fruit was taken away by the people of the Devil-Killing Summit. At the same time, it also caused many great powers to become cautious, because it had been a long time since the people of Devil-Killing Summit had done such a thing. The Divine Saber Immortal Palace had already said this, so He Peiqing and the others did not make things difficult for Chen Xiang. The immortal kings quickly dispersed. Chen Xiang heaved a sigh of relief. He almost couldn't continue the competition anymore. You can be considered a member of the Devil-Killing Summit, and now you're using the Devil-Killing Summit's pill furnace to participate in the competition. Does this count as representing the Devil-Killing Summit? Su Meiyao laughed. You can say that, but I don't dare to say it out loud. I'm afraid I'll lose my life. Chen Xiang touched the pill furnace. He liked this pill furnace a little because the 7-star skyfire formation inside was very powerful. He only needed to put in a little flame, and that 7-star skyfire formation could absorb the star power that was floating in the sky and earth and strengthen the flame inside. There are 10 people on the stage, and each of them has 10 different types of ground-level pills, including low, middle, and high rank. And now that the low-rank ground-level S have been distributed, after that, the competition will immediately begin. There were a lot of alchemists here, so there was definitely a lot of medicinal herbs that were needed, but to Myriad Dan Immortal Country there was not much pressure. An old man opened a big box, and a large amount of 9 quenching body Dan's medicinal herbs immediately flew out, and under the control of many immortal kings, they accurately split the boxes and floated to the sides of the alchemist. The 3 main ingredients for 9 quenching body Dan were lava fruit, Vajralingji, and yellow jade lotus seed. Chen Xiang was extremely familiar with these 3 main ingredients. You guys can take the supplementary medicine first. If you don't have it, you can come and get it from us. Every alchemist had a portion of the 9 quenching body dan's main medicinal ingredient, so of course everyone had the auxiliary medicinal ingredients. Anyone who came to participate in this kind of competition had long been prepared. The match begins. Seeing that all the alchemists were ready, He Pei-Ching immediately shouted. After that, many alchemists started to organize the main ingredients. Everyone frowned because the quality of these ingredients was not very good. Many of the alchemists present also took out some crappy medicinal herbs for them to refine, and there were quite a few high-level alchemists who were able to turn corruption into magic. In this way, in the end, through this method, He Pei-Ching managed to turn a large amount of dilapidated medicinal ingredients that had been stored in his storage into high-quality pills. Earth-grade low-rank Dan gets 1 point, middle grade gets 2 points, and high-grade gets 3 points. When everyone comes up to pick the herbs, you should consider carefully the limit for each herb taken is 10 portions. After the refinement is done, you can pick from the new batch. If there are more people, you will have to queue up, so the timing is very crucial. An old man said. Xianxia guessed that there would definitely be a lot of Dan Immortals who would choose to refine high-grade ground-level pills later. He was worried that the medicine would get a strong glow, and when that happened, refining middle and low-grade pills would not be worth it. Many people only paid attention to the famous alchemists. These were all Dan Immortals. They organized the ingredients very quickly, and their methods were all different. Their speeds were unexpectedly all the same, putting the ingredients into the furnace at the same time. The tens of thousands of alchemists in the huge competition were lined up in neat rows, but there were different pill furnaces. Some of them were even emitting bright red light. There were many pill furnaces that were extremely beautiful, causing people to be unable to catch up. As long as he finished refining this furnace, it could be considered the true start of the competition. This furnace was equivalent to being able to gain as much time as possible by being able to immediately go to the 10 elders on the stage to gather the medicinal ingredients. Otherwise, if there were too many people, they would have to queue up and waste a lot of time in the beginning. The competition lasted for 1 day and 1 night. Everyone had a very rare amount of time. A moment passed, and a few Dan Immortals had already opened their eyes. It was clear that they had completed condensing their pellets. These Dan Immortals included Li Tianjun, by Xia Dan Immortal, the mysterious old lady from the Long family, as well as the various famous Dan Immortals. The maximum speed at which 9 quenching body Dan can be refined is also that, and these Dan Immortal can all reach this speed, so it was completed at almost the same time. The faster one was the old lady from the Long family. She had already opened up the pill furnace, but right at this moment, Xianxia, who was carrying his water vat pill furnace, flew past a large distance, straight to the old man in front of the stage. Xianxia opened the pill furnace and took out 3 9 quenching body danes. At this moment, everyone's eyes were on his water jar pill furnace, and when they saw the 3 batches of 9 quenching body danes, they all started to cry out. It's actually 3 9 quenching body danes. Li Tianjun frowned slightly. He knew that this person was Xianxia, but he was still a little surprised. It was because those medicinal herbs were all rotten, yet Xianxia actually refined 3 pills at such a fast speed, a little faster than them, the famous Dan Immortal. Although it was just 1 point, it meant that Xianxia had surpassed their limit. Many Dan Immortal looked at Xianxia seriously, wanting to see what kind of person he was. 10 sets of 5 elements profound Dan, Xianxia said, his voice somewhat quick. He was very serious right now because he really wanted that little cauldron. Amongst the high-grade ground levels pills, the number of 5 elements profound Dan that came out was the most. Even though the difficulty of refining it was very high, it was nothing to Xianxia, which was why he chose this type of pill. Such a clever little fellow. If I had known earlier, I would have brought the pill furnace up as well. I might have been faster than you. The old lady laughed as she stood behind Xianxia. When he went up carrying the furnace, it was also exactly at the time when the pill condensation was completed. There was indeed a bit of time left, and seeing Xianxia's actions, many Dan Immortals also followed suit. Xianxia obtained 10 batches of 5 elements profound danes and quickly returned to his own position. The old lady also had 3 9 quenching body danes, which showed how strong her skills were. Xianxia used the god purification, adding on to the fact that he himself cultivated the divine way. He could unexpectedly refine a few more pills. Right after the old lady was by Xia Dan Immortal, then Li Tianjun, and then his junior sister Xiao Profound Yun. They had chosen 5 elements profound Dan, and there were also relive Dan-s. In order to prevent Alchemist from choosing only one herb, the palace had to adjust the quality of the herbs. The relive Dan-s, on the other hand, produced many pills, so the quality of the herbs was poor. Therefore, when some Dan Immortal-s obtained the 5 elements profound Dan's medicinal ingredients, they would immediately switch to relive Dan-s because the medicinal ingredients were not good. Even Li Tianjun and the Baixia Dan Immortal had no choice but to choose a relive Dan. What's this person's name? Go and have a look. He's hiding something. He Peiqing said to the old man beside him. His name is Yu Gang. He should be a fake name. I'm afraid it will be difficult to find him. The old man said. To be able to use a portion of inferior quality medicinal herbs to refine 3 of them in the shortest amount of time, the level of display would definitely surpass those of the Dan Immortal-s. Thus, Chun Xiang immediately attracted the attention of many big shots. Chun Xiang knew, if he wanted to take first place, he could not hide his strength. There were too many Dan Immortal here. If he did not bring out his strongest abilities, it would be hard for him to fight them. I heard that the last time Chun Xiang participated in the competition in Sacred Dan Realm, he also had 3 pellets in a pot, and one of them was from the peak quality. Long Huishan said. In the VIP box that she was in, there were a few elders. One of them had a head full of white hair, but it shone with a pure white light. That's right, I was watching the competition from the side. Is the person in front of me Chun Xiang? Yan Xilan wore a purple dress and sat beside Long Huishan. Her beautiful eyes were like water as she looked at the water jar furnace. Very high elder. Can you see anything from this person? Long Huishan looked at the old man whose hair was emitting white light and asked respectfully. There were no wrinkles on this old man's face. His skin was as white as an infant's and had a rosy complexion. However, he had an extremely aged aura around him. It was as if he had lived for countless years and was exuding an ancient aura. He doesn't have a dantian, or I can't feel his dantian. The flames are the 5 elements heavenly fire and an even more powerful flame that is changing back and forth. The changes inside the pill furnace are very strange, violent, and unstable, but they are very regular. He isn't using the foreseeing alchemy to refine pills. The old man stroked his long, white brows as a surprised light flashed in his deep eyes. Can you feel the dragon power on his body? Or maybe it's the devil-suppressing holy power. Chun Xiang has this aura on his body. Long Huishan asked again. No, I can't sense his dantian, so I can't be sure. The very high elder shook his head. But this gives me a very scary feeling. Every time his heart beats, I feel like this heaven realm will be destroyed. Can you confirm that he is Chun Xiang? Long Huishan really wanted to see Chun Xiang right now, but there was no way to contact him. No. The very high elder shook his head. Yan Xilan chuckled. Huishan, wait a little longer. This is just the beginning. I think he will definitely come. He likes to join in the fun. How can he be absent from this kind of thing? It's just that it's not convenient for him to appear. You should understand his current situation. Chun Xiang began to refine the first batch of 5 elements profound Dan, but a moment later, the famous Dan Immortal-s all took out high-grade ground-level pills one after another from their pill furnaces. What's going on? Why are they so fast? Chun Xiang said in surprise. These Dan Immortal-s were not that fast when they were refining the Earth-grade low-rank Dan, but now they were much faster than him when he was refining upper ground-level S, especially the old lady from the Long family. She had refined a pot of 5 elements profound Dan, and there were 3 of them. Their pill furnaces, these Dan Immortal-s need a long time to refine high-grade immortal pills, so most of their pill furnaces have time formation S that shorten the time. They did not use them just now, probably because they did not expect there to be so many Dan Immortal-s with such high standards. Su Meiyao said. The Long family's Dan Immortal was currently the most eye-catching because she used the inferior 5 elements profound Dan S to refine pills. If she could produce 3 pills in one furnace, the Dan Immortal who made the Relive Dan could only produce 2 pills in one pot. However, the old lady's speed was also slower than the other alchemist. There was no need to mention Li Tianjun and the Baixia Dan Immortal. Their speed was even faster. Almost not long after placing the medicinal ingredients in, they were able to open the lid to take the pellets. Before Chun Xiang had even finished one furnace, others had already finished too. Previously, he had received praise from many, but not for long. He had lost it because those Dan Immortals had used their strongest abilities and had completely covered him. It seems like they are fighting for the top 3 positions. Only the top 3 can obtain the pills they refined. No one wants to give the pills they refined to He Peiqing. Su Meiyao said, "You have to hurry. If this goes on, you won't even be in the top 3. However, Xianxia was still very calm. In this kind of nervous atmosphere, every alchemist, whether they were from the Dan Immortal or the pill sect, appeared very anxious. Only he gave people a very calm feeling, and was not affected by the atmosphere. Xianxia paid great attention to refining the 5 elements profound Dan, and helped him observe the progress of the Dan Immortals. The quality of these medicinal ingredients are all very poor. Don't tell me that you're trying your best to concoct more pills?" Su Meiyao asked. She had thought that Xianxia would immediately speed up. "Yes, I can't use the supplementary ingredients that I brought myself right now, so I can only pour the creation divine liquid into the flame. That way, I can replenish the spirit medicine's spirit energy, so as long as I keep it safe, I can concoct quite a few of them in one furnace." Xianxia said, "Back then when I was refining the 5 elements profound Dan, my peak value was 4 pills. 5 pills was a very easy task for you. Even when you were refining the 5 elements profound Dan in the past, you only had 5 pills per furnace." Su Meiyao said, "I didn't learn God purification when I consumed 5 pills in a single furnace, but now—" "Heh." Xianxia smiled mysteriously. Su Meiyao took in a light breath. She had almost forgotten about the God purification. Previously Xianxia had used it to its full capacity and refined 4 relived Dan-s in one go. But now, with how confident Xianxia was, it was obvious that he was going to exceed his limits once again. The Long family's 3rd batch of 5 elements profound Dan only had 2 pellets. It seems like she was also helpless against these broken pellets. She had absolute confidence in Xianxia. She believed that Xianxia would definitely be able to enter the top 3. If you manage to refine 6 pellets, He Peiqing will definitely suspect you, because the same thing happened to you when you were refining the relived Dan back then. Su Meiyao said, "We'll talk about it when the time comes. In short, I won't admit it." Xianxia had already planned to give it his all to refine pills. Otherwise it would be difficult for him to win against these powerful Dan Immortals. Xianxia could not use Yanlong furnace. Otherwise his speed would become even faster. However, he knew that there was a drawback to speeding up the arrays since it would consume a lot of Alchemist's energy. What Li Tianjun cared about the most was Xianxia, because he knew that Xianxia had a power that exceeded his limits. He had already refined 3 batches, yet Xianxia did not even finish a single furnace. "All right." Xianxia opened his eyes and slowly opened the lid. At the same time, a few waves of consciousness were projected over, followed by more than 10 Dan Immortals who released their divine intents to check on his results. After the lid was completely opened, all the Dan Immortal were emotionally moved, because they had detected that Xianxia's pill furnace had 6 high-quality 5 elements profound Dan. These alchemists' first reaction was to not believe it, thinking that Xianxia had cheated. However, they could not find any evidence to prove that Xianxia had cheated, and those 6 5 elements profound Dan had indeed just left so they were definitely not mistaken. 6 pills. The very high elder from the Long family stood up suddenly and looked at the 6 5 elements profound Dan that were slowly floating out of Xianxia's pill furnace. At this time, many of the alchemists on the stage turned their heads over and looked at Xianxia. Some of them even stopped refining pills and looked at him in shock. He Feng and He Peiqing immediately frowned because previously the Grandmaster Yen at their 6th shop was also so powerful that he could produce pills beyond his limits. But now, the person who used the water jar furnace to concoct pills was evidently more powerful than the Grandmaster Yen. Using 6 inferior medicinal ingredients in a single batch was completely illogical. Xianxia placed the 6 5 elements profound Dan into a jade box and then arranged the next batch of medicinal ingredients. From the beginning to the end, he was extremely calm and did not lose his composure because he was the center of attention. Suddenly, the spectators fell silent for a moment, then erupted into a flurry of discussions, many expressing their disbelief, and even more thinking that Xianxia was cheating. Chun Xiang using creation divine liquid to recover those medicinal ingredients did not seem to be cheating in his eyes, as he had also consumed a lot of energy. Furthermore, that was his own strength. If he was cheating, then the accelerated pill furnaces used by the Dan Immortal would also be cheating. Now that so many people were staring at him, if he cheated, it would definitely not escape the eyes of so many experts. At this time, even more people were looking at Chun Xiang, but Chun Xiang was not affected at all. He was wholeheartedly arranging his ingredients, and the most amazing thing was not that he could make 3 batches of ingredients, but that he could make 3 batches of ingredients with his ingredients. If high-leveled pills could make such a difference in the future, then this kind of alchemist would definitely be very popular. It was still a competition, so even if Pei Qing had many questions, he could not go over to ask. But Chun Xiang knew that the new king would definitely come looking for him in the future. Very high elder, can you refine 5 pills? Long Huishan asked. No, I can only concoct at most 5 pills. If I use those inferior herbs, it would only be 4 pills. This person is definitely a genius. I don't know who taught him how to make such pills. I can confirm that he didn't use the foreseeing alchemy, but some other method to make pills. The old man stroked his beard as he spoke. Chun Xiang was not refining a cauldron of medicinal ingredients, but rather arranging all of the medicinal ingredients in an instant. Thus the others refined another furnace. Finally, the crowd had waited for him to finish arranging the ingredients. They planned to watch him refine the pills from the start to the end. They wanted to see if they could figure out anything or if he was cheating. However, Chun Xiang actually carried a huge pile of medicinal ingredients and poured them all into the water jar furnace, causing everyone to be dumbstruck. The taboo in refining pills was being greedy. This kind of method was something that every alchemist would think of. Many alchemists had tried, but they found it difficult to succeed. This guy is really reckless. If he fails to gather too many medicinal ingredients, then he can't go back to claim them. At that time, he can only withdraw from the competition. If he was as steady as before and fought step by step, he might be able to get a good ranking. But if he failed, then it would be 9 sets of herbs. Everyone whispered and discussed, while Chun Xiang's strong flames ignited the black water jar furnace red, and at the same time, a burst of dense star power permeated through him. Rumor has it that this pill furnace is called the 7-star treasure furnace. There is a 7-star sky fire formation inside that can absorb the star power that exists everywhere to strengthen the flame, but it is useless to use intense flames to refine herbs. On the contrary, it could easily explode. He doesn't seem to be using the foreseeing alchemy. The fire energy of the foreseeing alchemy shouldn't be so fierce. Could it be that he has another method to refine a high-grade ground-level pill? What method is this? Chun Xiang's pill furnace had already turned red, and everyone could see that the flames inside were extremely terrifying. Using such a method to refine pills was not feasible in the eyes of many. She was now absolutely certain that the person was Chun Xiang. However, she did not say it out loud because she had a strong intuition. Lu Menger watched unblinkingly. She was worried that Chun Xiang's red-hot pill furnace would suddenly explode. I never thought that this pill furnace would be so powerful. The flame inside should be from a 5 elements heavenly fire. Song Ying praised. As expected of something from the devil-killing summit, it is indeed extraordinary. There's not only 5 elements heavenly fire inside. There are even more powerful flames. However, this person has swapped out the 2 types of flames. If one does not pay careful attention, it would be difficult to discover that there's actually someone who can control 2 types of flames. Lu Zhongyu exclaimed. If the Divine Saber Immortal Palace did not prove that they sold the pill furnace, it would be hard for me to believe that this person did not belong to the devil-killing summit. Wu Canghong said. It's not just that. He should have just bought the pill furnace not too long ago, but he can control it so quickly. It seems like he must be someone who frequently controls high-grade magical equipment. Lu Zhongyu now stared fixedly at Chun Xiang. In everyone's eyes, Chun Xiang was just sitting there with his eyes closed, his hands pressed to the fire outlet and releasing flames. The many famous Dan Immortal on the stage all felt a sense of pressure. If they were led by an unknown person, their hearts would definitely not feel good. There are many strong flames in the Dan Immortal here, but the grade of the medicinal herbs refined is very low for them. They can't use the flames as they please. Their hearts will definitely be filled with anxiety. Su Meiyao laughed tenderly. This might be another advantage of being a god purification. It can allow the alchemist to release flames to concoct pills to his heart's content. Xianxia agreed with Su Meiyao's words very much. He felt very satisfied already, but he was also continuously increasing the intensity of the flames, allowing the 7-star skyfire formation inside to absorb the surrounding star power as much as it wanted, and also increasing the intensity of his furnace. Burn to your heart's content. Xianxia screamed in his heart, and used his divine power to crazily attack the spirit of the spirit medicine, quickly turning a large amount of the spirit medicine into powder and medicine aura, throwing a large amount of ingredients into the furnace, then condensing the pills in one go and finishing the process in one furnace. Xianxia had already succeeded many times. He would have to use the heavenly alchemy and his strong god power to do it here. In order to obtain the cauldron, Xianxia had already given his all and used all his strength. This was only the first round, and the following matches might not be beneficial for a low-leveled alchemist like him. The other Dan Immortals stopped paying attention to Xianxia and focused on concocting pills. If they were surpassed by this unknown junior, they would lose a lot of face. Li Tianjun had already predicted that Xianxia would shine here, but he didn't think that it would be any stronger than what he had imagined. Although he had the upper hand against Bai Xiaodan Immortal, only by obtaining first place could he prove that he had defeated Bai Xiaodan Immortal, so he was under a lot of pressure right now. Many Dan Immortals were secretly hoping that the next rules would favor the Dan Immortal, because they could see that Xianxia's cultivation was not high, and was only at the immortal realm. He could not possibly be able to refine immortal pills, and he gave off the feeling that he was very young. Xianxia's Crimson 7 Stars explosion furnace suddenly dimmed and started to shake slightly. One look at it and one could tell that it was about to condense a pill. Previously, many people thought that he would fail, but they did not expect him to last so long and even reach the core formation stage. Everyone was very curious about what was going on inside the pill furnace to actually be able to enter the core formation stage. Xianxia's god power was as vast as the ocean as it poured into the 7 stars exposure. It turned into many sharp blades, evenly dividing the large lump of air into 54 spheres, then compressing them together again and quickly compressing them into a pill. 9 sets of medicinal ingredients and 54 pellets was equivalent to 6 pellets per pellet. Xianxia was very confident in this kind of control. When Xianxia lifted the lid of the 7 stars treasure furnace, a dense amount of densely packed pills floated up, shining with a translucent light. The rich medicinal fragrance spread out like a gust of wind. That kind of extremely high-quality pill made many Dan Immortals secretly sigh in admiration. 54 pills, not too many. 1 serving for 6. The Long family's very high elder took a deep breath. As for the fastest Dan Immortal, he had only refined 8 of them, while Xianxia had already completed 10. In total, he had refined 65 elements profound Dan, and his speed was the fastest. Everyone could only describe this kind of person as a monster. This sort of genius was not only shocking, but also terrifying. This was because the pill furnace he used didn't have time to speed up the array, meaning that he still had great potential. Xianxia flew onto the stage with the box of 5 elements profound Dan and let the elders inspect it. At the same time, he also received 10 portions of 5 elements profound Dan. From start to end, Xianxia had always been stronger than those Dan Immortal, and now he was far ahead of them. He had already obtained 180 points, and even the Dan Immortal who went up to exchange for more points was probably a far cry from him. The eyes of Lu Menger, who was watching from the VIP box, were filled with suspicion, because she saw Xianxia's shadow on that person. In her memories, when Xianxia had competed in the pill refining competition many times, he had always performed an extraordinary refining technique that shocked everyone, and now the person in front of her was the same, causing her to wonder if it was Xianxia. Zilan, I remember that you've told me many times that my little brother was once this popular in the alchemy competition, right? Long Huishan looked at the dazed Yan Zilan. Qinxiang? That's right, I was watching by the side when the competition started. His pill refining skills were indeed brilliant, the number of pills produced, the speed at which he concocted them, including quality, are all extremely high. When he is concocting pills, he always pursues the peak. It seems like he is competing with others, but in truth, it is more like he is competing with himself. Yen Xilan said faintly. Right now, the person here seems to be the same. The surrounding environment does not have any effect on him. He seems to already be immersed in the joy of his own competition. This is a kind of realm, it's also a competition. If I were to compete with someone else, I would only think that if the opponent is better, then I would have won. If I were to compete with myself, then I would have to defeat my previous self, which is equivalent to surpassing my own limits. If I were able to achieve this, then it would not be as simple as just defeating the opponent a little. The very high elder said, causing Long Huishan and Yen Xilan to nod their heads in agreement. So this person looks very similar to Xianxia. Could he really be the guy who likes to cause trouble? Long Huishan opened her eyes wide and looked at Xianxia's back figure. Looking at her, she seemed to wish for nothing more than to immediately rush over and grab Xianxia to ask him about it. It should be him. If you've watched his matches a few times, you'll understand that he's completely using his full strength right now. He can't conceal his current state. Yen Xilan let out a long sigh of relief. He still has many symbols on him. If he was forced to use it, his identity would not be concealed. My Long family will definitely protect him. He is my sworn brother and also my benefactor. Even if I have to risk my life, no one is allowed to touch a single hair on his head. Long Huishan said. The very high elder nodded his head. It's just that the Dragon Emperor is a little difficult to deal with. He's right here, and for the sake of the Green Dragon Demon-Slain Broadsword, he would do anything. After Xianxia obtained 10 batches of 5 elements profound DNS, after tidying them up, he threw all of them into the pill furnace. If he had 100 batches, he would definitely put them in too. At this moment, some of the Dan Immortal were secretly worried because Xianxia's speed of refining pills was simply too fast. They were worried that the ingredients would be completely refined. He Peiqing kept a close eye on Xianxia and did not let go of even the slightest of clues. Furthermore, he deeply suspected that Xianxia was the devil-killing summit who had entered the palace that day. Father, is there any way to spy on him? After this competition ends, we'll rest for 2 hours. How about we make our move then? He Feng whispered to He Peiqing. No, that will affect our reputation. Everything can be discussed after the end of the competition, but we do not have any evidence, and we do not know the background of this man, so if there is a powerful force backing him up, it would be against us. We have just obtained the throne, so we should avoid any conflicts with the other forces at this stage of the competition. He Peiqing replied. Xianxia's pill furnace quickly turned red, just like before. No one dared to have any doubts about the result. Success earlier on had already turned the tables on everyone, and shocked everyone, and now, many of the Alchemists who were spectating at the side stared at Xianxia without blinking. They had completely ignored those famous Dan Immortals because they wanted to learn something from them, but until now, they had not reaped any benefits at all. Brat, Dragon Emperor is here, you need to be careful, said from afar. Previously, he was also shocked by Xianxia's pill refining skills. He really suspected that the person who imparted the skills to Xianxia came from the devil-killing summit. I'm not afraid. I'm a leader of the dragon subduing school. Xianxia replied with a smile. Good boy, if something really happens, I'll scold that Dragon Emperor and then run away. Just thinking about it makes me satisfied. Huang Jintian chuckled. The old lady from the Long family had also finished 10 of the pills, which was pretty good for her. She had refined 25 of the pills out of the 10 5 elements profound DNS, obtaining 75 points, which was second place, but there was still a big difference between her and Xianxia, so her expression was not very good. Furthermore, the pressure was also huge, because she was pressed down by a little brat. Not only her, but all the other Dan Immortals present as well. When Li Tianjun and the Fire Divine Palace went to deliver the pellets, the calculated score was in the 3rd place or 4th place. Li Tianjun had 72 points, which was more than 3 points ahead of the Bai Xia Dan Immortal. Following that, Xiao Profoundyun and the Bai Xia Dan Immortal were both 69 points, while the 66 points had more than a dozen Dan Immortals. However, compared to Chun Xiang's 180 points, it was not even enough to look at him, and not even half of his points had been reached. Even the points of 2 or 3 other people combined could not compare to Chun Xiang, and the complexions of those Dan Immortals who were separated by this kind of difference slightly turned green. Most of the alchemists have already completed the first round of 10 sets of medicinal herbs. I never thought that there would be such a difference in the score. That person is really amazing, and if he also succeeded in the second round, the gap would become bigger and bigger. This is only the beginning. Wang Weiquan looked at Xiao Profound-Yun and said with a smile, Yuner, as a newcomer, being able to get this rank is already not bad. Old Wang, why isn't Xiangyu here? She's your disciple. Even if she isn't participating in the competition, she should be here to support us. Lu Zhongyu asked. He had just finished speaking when he heard a knock on the door of their box. As you say, that's right. This must be the little girl, Xianxia. I wonder where she went. She's only here now. Wang Weiquan immediately opened the door, and sure enough, it was Hua Xianxia. Master! The moment Hua Xianxia entered, she shouted with a charming smile. When Hua Xianxia walked in, he immediately bowed to Wu Canghong, Lu Zhongyu, and Song Ying, because they were all elders, even though they looked to be just as young as she was. Little girl, don't be so polite with us. Where's Xianxian? Why didn't she come? Song Ying asked with a smile. She's in closed-door training. She's very diligent. Hua Xiangyue said as he walked to Lu Menger's side and reached the window where he could clearly see the auction from below. Hua Xiangyue frowned. It was because I saw that guy concocting pills that I did not come up. Xiangyue, you are a pill refiner. What do you think of this person? Wang Weiquan asked. Hua Xiangyue was quiet for a while, then said quietly, They look very similar to Junior Martial Uncle. When Hua Xiangyue said this, Wang Weiquan and the others were extremely shocked. Say, this person looks very much like Junior Apprentice Brother. Of course, Wang Weiquan knew that Chen Xiang was a genius alchemist. He had only heard of them and had never seen them with his own eyes. Song Ying noticed that her daughter did not feel surprised. It was obvious that she knew about it. She came to Lu Menger's side and asked, Menger, do you think so too? Lu Menger nodded her head. As long as you have seen him concoct pills once, you will understand. His demeanor when concocting pills is exactly the same as this person's. But right now, I can't be sure. Although Junior Martial Uncle has always loved to cause trouble, he should be clear about the situation here. Rumor has it that Dragon Emperor has returned, and he has the Green Dragon Demon-Slain broadsword, so he must be carefully considering if he should come. Hua Xiangyue said. This person's pill refinement is indeed different from the others. His appearance is as though he is entertaining himself, completely unaffected by the atmosphere of the entire arena. Wang Weiquan stroked his chin and said, If he is really my junior brother, then Xian Yun is not a lot behind him. Xian Yun is his senior sister. If Mistress loses to her junior brother, what will happen to her? Hua Xiangyue asked curiously, with a mischievous smile on his face. Wang Weiquan looked serious. We'll find out after she loses. Chun Xiang had already opened his pill furnace. This time, Chun Xiang was able to refine 10 batches of 5 elements Profound Dan and 60 pills in one go. This kind of control made many Dan Immortals secretly admire him from the bottom of their hearts. Chun Xiang's score had already reached 360 points, pressuring the Dan Immortals to the point that they had to take a deep breath. They could not wait to smash Chun Xiang's water jar furnace to the point that they couldn't continue refining. If they really did shatter it, even if Chun Xiang did not use a pill furnace, he would still be able to refine it. Sweat trickled down the foreheads of the elders of Myriad Dan Immortal Country. It had only been half an hour, and they had already refined so many medicinal ingredients, so the competition would continue for 1 day and 1 night. Right now, Chun Xiang was still full of energy. From the looks of it, he seemed to be able to fight continuously for 7 days and 7 nights. It had already been 2 hours since the start of the competition. Chun Xiang had refined a total of 65 elements Profound Dan S, for a total of 1080 points. The second was the old lady from the Long family. With 432 points, Chun Xiang had more than double her points. The third and fourth place were always occupied by Li Tianjun and the Bai Xiaodan Immortal, sometimes third. The two fought intensely, and sometimes score a little less than the second place. Fifth place was Xiao Profound Yun. She was very stable, and the other Dan Immortal S were always a little less than her. The sky quickly darkened, and everyone continued to watch the competition with interest. Until late into the night, not a single person left the competition grounds, while Chun Xiang was as brutal as ever, leaving the other Dan Immortal far behind. After 20 hours had passed, Chun Xiang had refined a total of 605 elements Profound Dan, and he himself had refined many of them himself. Furthermore, not many 5 elements Profound Dan dared to touch them, because the quality was poor. It was already morning, and the competition had not been going on for long. And on the newly updated scoreboard, Chun Xiang had already scored more than 10,000 points, which was placed at the top, looking down on all the other heroes. The Dan Immortal were already used to it, and everyone was already numb to it. "Time's up," He Peiqing shouted. The first was Chun Xiang, without a doubt. The second was the Long family's Dan Immortal, Long Perong, who was also the old granny. The third was Li Tianjun. The fourth was the Bai Xiaodan Immortal. The fifth was Xiao Profound Yun. Although Bai Xiaodan Immortal had gotten fourth place, her expression was calm and did not reveal any emotions. The city was very deep, and even though Xiao Profound Yun had not entered the top 3, she was already very satisfied with herself, because she had the ability to suppress the other Dan Immortal. Those in the top 3 can come up and take away your pills, but those who haven't entered the top 1,000, please leave as you wish, He Peiqing said. Although the top 3 could have taken away those pills, but the total number of pills refined by the 10,000 Alchemist S was very much. Everyone please rest first. The second round will begin in 2 hours, and at that time the rules will be announced. You can reveal one thing, that at that time, only 10 alchemists will be able to enter the final round. He Peiqing's words caused the hearts of many Dan Immortal to tremble. The majority of the remaining 1,000 Alchemist S were all high-ranking. There were many Dan Immortal S, but only 10 of them would be able to enter the finals to fight for the first place. Now, what was certain was that there would be at least 5 Alchemist S who would be able to enter the finals, which meant that they would be in the top 5. However, Chun Xiang did not think so, because the first round was beneficial to him. The pills being refined was not too high-leveled. If it really is Junior Martial Uncle, then I'm afraid it won't be good for him. Xianxia frowned. According to the normal course of events, the pellets that are going to be refined next will definitely be high-leveled pellets, and low-leveled pellets cannot be used by the Dan Immortal S to the maximum level. But Junior Martial Uncle is still very young, and is unable to refine a high-leveled pellet. The 1,000 Dan Immortal King does not plan to give away his precious Divine Cauldron, so he will definitely come up with a rule that looks very fair, but is beneficial to the Dan Immortal, so that the few Dan Immortal S will be able to squeeze into the 10 spots and make it to the first place. That way, he will not lose the Divine Cauldron. Wu Songhong laughed coldly. Although the organizers are not allowed to participate in this kind of competition, but who doesn't know that he has sent Dan Immortal S? Brat, is that broken divine furnace very important? From the looks of it, you're going to throw caution to the wind. Huang Jintian asked. It's very important. You'll understand it in the future. Chun Xiang had the Dan Emperor's map, so if he could find the Divine Cauldron's lid at that place, it would be a complete Divine Cauldron. I thought you used it to make dragon soup. Huang Jintian laughed. The interior of the Divine Cauldron was very spacious and could be used to smelt large-scale objects. This was indeed a very mysterious place. Little girl Xianxia also came. I saw her standing there for a long time watching the event, and then she went to the VIP box. She probably went to meet up with your eldest senior brother and the others. From the looks of it, she seemed to recognize you. If Hua Xianxia had come, it would also be normal for him to be able to recognize him, so he was not surprised at all. There were only 2 hours of rest time, and all the Alchemists had consumed some medicinal pellets to replenish their energy. 2 hours was very little for them, but this was the limit of challenging Alchemist. Many Dan Immortal knew that the following rules would definitely benefit them, unlike last time, which caused them to lack all their abilities, but they were unable to completely display it. allowing a nameless junior to step on their heads. In their eyes, Xianxia was someone whose strength had not even reached the immortal monarch. Without the immortal monarch's strength, it meant that the pills being refined would not be of a high level, and if he were to push himself to death, it would only be a high-grade heaven-level pill. It would not be easy for him to concoct the immortal pills. It was not enough to have talent. He still needed a certain amount of strength. Previously, Xianxia had asked around that there would not be any competition that would produce elixirs, and even high-grade heaven-level pills were very rare, because these were all relatively valuable medicinal ingredients, and not just anyone could produce them. Of course, if the organizers of the competition were to produce them for the Alchemist to refine, that would be fair. Xianxia was a little nervous, but he firmly believed that as long as there was a suitable pill for him to refine in the competition, he would not lose. Pei-Qing walked onto the stage, his gaze sweeping across the alchemist below, and said slowly, "The second round is about to begin. Let me first talk about the rules. There are many Dan Immortal present here, and the previous match more or less caused them to feel aggrieved. Furthermore, everyone will definitely feel unsatisfied, because they are all just ground-level pills. This competition still uses the method of ranking the points, but it is very different from last time. As long as you can concoct a high-quality ground-level pellet, 1 pellet can be exchanged for 1 point, while the low-quality heaven-level pellet is worth 50 pellets. The middle-quality heaven level is 300 pellets, and the high-quality heaven level is worth 1,000 pellets. However, the ingredients for the heaven-level pill are limited. If everyone wishes to obtain a limited number of heaven-level pill ingredients, everyone can first use their own ingredients to refine a batch of low-grade heaven-level pills. According to the price of 1 pill with 50 points, the highest score will be able to obtain a certain amount of ingredients. If you are unable to obtain the ingredients for the heaven-level pill, you can also use your own ingredients to participate in the competition. The points are exactly the same as before. Furthermore, the pills refined are also yours. Pei-Qing saw that many of the alchemist's expression were slightly ugly, and said, "Right now, we can give everyone 2 hours to gather the medicinal ingredients. If we choose to refine the ground-level pill, we can provide a large number of medicinal ingredients. The ground-level pills were only worth 1 point each, but the high-grade heaven-level pills were worth 1,000 points each. If he could refine 2 of them in 1 furnace, that would be 2,000 points, which was equivalent to 2,000 ground-level pills. If a fool chose to refine a ground-level pill, then refining a ground-level pill would be impossible. If refining a low-grade heaven-level pill, 1 pill would have 50 points each, but with a bit of speed it would still be comparable to refining high-grade heaven-level pills, or choose to refine a middle-grade heaven-level pill with 300 points each. Although he had prepared in his heart, he was still angered by this rule. This had already made the ground-level pill completely lose its status. It was obvious that this was all aimed at him. Other than him, the other alchemists here probably did not have any complaints, especially now that they could gather more ingredients. Alchemists who were able to participate in the competition all had their own backgrounds. There were definitely some medicinal ingredients as well. Almost all of the alchemists had left the venue, and only Xianxia was sitting there. He did not have much to collect. He did not have many spiritual crystal, and there was not a single powerful force supporting him from behind. His creation divine liquid could not create a large number of heaven-level pills in a short time either, so copying the heaven-level pills would require a lot of creation divine liquid and it was too late now. "Aren't you going to gather the herbs?" Pei-Qing saw that Xianxia was sitting there unmoving, and asked. "I don't have a spiritual crystal," Xianxia lightly replied, and then asked. "If I can enter the top 3, I can take away those pills, right? If you refine it using your own medicine, you can take away any ranking. If you enter the top 3 and use the medicine from our myriad Dan Immortal country, then you can take it away." Pei-Qing could tell that Xianxia did not have much of a foundation, or else he would have gone to gather medicinal ingredients a long time ago. He was very clear that as long as it was the alchemist, they would not bring a large amount of medicinal ingredients with them. "Then how many ground-level ingredients do you have? What if it's not enough for me to refine? What should I do?" Xianxia asked again, hearing his question. He knew that he was going to risk his life to refine the ground-level pill. Previously, he said that he did not have any spiritual crystal, and it could be seen that he was the only one participating in the competition. If you are able to refine all of our ground-level pills within 12 hours, and your points are not enough to enter the top 10, I will give you a special exception so that you can break into the final round. Furthermore, those pills are all yours. He Peiqing said solemnly. He Peiqing was extremely confident in his own ground level's medicinal ingredients, and there was even a large amount that he had not finished refining. That was something that they had accumulated for many years, and there were many that were rotten medicinal ingredients. Previously, when Xianxia refined the high-rank ground-level pills, he was able to refine more than 4,000 in 20 hours. However, the 5 elements Profound Dan had used up a lot of its medicinal ingredients, so there wasn't much left. If he chose other ground-level pills, the number he would produce would probably decrease, but for those who refined high-quality heaven-level pills, he would get 1,000 points for each pill, which could be said to be very easy to obtain very high points. To those Dan Immortal's high-quality heaven-level pills were simply nothing. Everyone felt that it would be difficult for Xianxia to enter the top 10 even if he was given 2 days' time, because the speed at which these Dan Immortal refined high-grade heaven-level pills was also very savage. In addition to the great progress made in the current time formation, it was even faster to refine high-grade pills. Brat, do you want me to steal some heaven-level pills for you? Even a fool can calculate that I will lose in refining the ground-level pills. Huang Jintian sent a sound transmission to Xianxia. This kind of thing could be seen at a glance. There was no need to count it. Master, if I can enter the top 10, how about you give me back that bird's leg? If I lose, I'll give you another bird's leg. Xianxia asked with a smile. I won't do it. Huang Jintian was not stupid. With Xianxia's confidence, there must be some other way to win. When He Peiqing had just mentioned that he could gather ingredients, many people in the VIP box had already left. Using their fastest speed to gather a large amount of heaven-level medicinal ingredients, many powers had stored up a lot of them.